Hello, welcome back to my channel. Ooh, man, I don't know why I keep doing my videos in such long spurts apart because I'm definitely recording things in between, but I just don't have time to put something together. So I'm gonna do a run through of a winter update going into spring. So since I missed so long, I thought it'd be best to give you all an update of how my factors are going living in the desert here in good old Las Vegas, Nevada, my triumphs, my failures, and unlike DC, I actually probably have an equal amount of successes to failures. I think that when I was in DC, maybe because of the humidity or because I had a south facing window and grow lights, I just had better odds. Here in this new apartment, I have a west facing window, also a north facing window, which I will get into because in this video, I'm actually going to walk around since I have a microphone. But I couldn't win it all since uh, the moment I started to film this video, my tripod broke. So I actually have this shimmied on here just so I can keep a stable video for you all. So just to jump in, here in the winter time, which is probably one of the most pronounced seasons outside of summer, here in the winter in the desert, we have very particular factors that will change how you take care of your plants. Now, everything does slow down, but doesn't slow down because although we lose the light, we don't lose so much of the heat. So it does get cool, but the plants, well, my plants in my collection don't necessarily go dormant when it gets cool. They just start doing other things besides growing leaves, such as blooms, and we will get into that. So just to start on some factors about how my collection's going overall, the temperatures for the wintertime are sometime, and these will be in Fahrenheit, are somewhat between 67 and 70 as an average. Now, my thermometer has recorded temperatures as low as 57 and as high as 83, but these are towards the beginning and the end of the winter season. So, leaving fall and going into spring, which we're doing now here in Vegas, actually, we're kind of already in spring. We just don't have the light yet, but the temperatures are definitely here. My partner and I were in LA a couple of days ago and it was like 80 degrees. So spring is definitely coming here on the West Coast. So again, my temperatures are fairly moderate. So my plants don't necessarily have a dormant time, although many of them do enjoy those drops in temperatures, which we'll get into when we do our walk around. Next, the watering. So I'm definitely watering at most one time per week, at least every 2 weeks. The light here is so low. However, as you can see, I have grow lights. So with the light, just to scale back a bit, plants will continue to do work. They will photosynthesize with light. And in the wintertime, our light tends to scale back, which is why, in tandem to the pot taking longer to dry, they just don't drink as much water because they're not doing as much work. However, I do, with the grow lights, give my plants a total time of minimum, a total time at a minimum of 12 hours. So in the wintertime, my plants receive a minimum of 12 hours of light. So by the time the sun goes down, my grow lights are still on to finish the cycle of 12 hours. In the summertime, I think I go up to about 14, 16 hours, but I don't need to run the grow lights as long because I have a lot of sun in the summertime. So you can imagine my energy bill. I actually don't think my lights affect my energy bill too much because there's only one, two, three, four, five of them, and they come on for about 6 hours, and they're LED, so they're pretty efficient. Now, back to watering because we're going on the tangent on the lights here. I still use distilled water to purchase from the store because if I use any type of tap water, drinking water, I end up with a white residue on the top of my pots, something that I will also show you in the walk around because I have some current examples of that. So we just touched on temperature and water, and I did touch on light, so I'm not going to stay on it because that was going to be my next topic. So again, right now, my Plants are receiving light from about 7 in the morning till 7 p.m. in the evening, which gives them an average of about 12 hours, give or take. I know it's not perfect. The sunrise here is about 6:50, and my lights come on about 1 because I lose my light. Probably I start to lose it around noon because of a big tree that blocks the light right outside of the window here. Outside of my west facing window, there's a huge tree that kind of blocks the light in the wintertime because the sun is lower. And the last topic would be humidity. I don't touch on humidity too much. When I was in DC, humidity was something that was a standard, even just with the windows open, even in the wintertime. Here, there's really no humidity. Today, it's been raining all day, so it's strange. My humidity gauge right now is at 50%. That is unheard of in the desert. Just, yeah, so these 2 seasons that I've endured, excuse me, these couple of seasons I've endured for my 2 years living here have been quite an anomaly because 50% humidity and having not having to worry about the sun blasting through the windows. I don't know, it's pretty cool, but it's very interesting because the desert is not supposed to be like that. But I am definitely benefiting off of that. So now that I've given you guys the standards and the boring things, let's do our planty walk around because I finally want to show you some of the, again, successes and failures of my collection up close. So I do apologize if I'm not the best at holding a camera steady, but just to show you guys what's going on in my collection. As you can see, I have very much diversified my collection. So there's not just orchids here. There are tons of houseplants and things to go over. But as some of you probably noticed, my orchids are the ones with blooms because they're the ones that I know how to bloom and I know kind of what I'm doing with them. So to jump into it, let's go into this corner here. Here we have my bronze maiden over in the corner. She actually did suffer from some spider mite damage. I don't know if I can, I don't know if you can see that, but all of that at the bottom is basically spider mite damage. And I really honestly didn't do much aside from wash the leaves with some Dawn soap and just pray. And it is, well, she is growing a new leaf right over here. So I'm happy about that. We have a monstera here. My avocado tree is doing very well. And I think this is my Fowl Sogo Lawrence. He's putting out 2 spikes. Can you see that there? 1 and 2. Always excited. These should be fragrant blooms. No spider mite damage here. And I don't know, I'm really excited about that one. I'm just really excited. There's a pothos here that actually my neighbor gave me just before he moved. Hey Draven, if you see this video, she's doing quite well. I don't have her under the grow lights, but she does benefit from that west facing window there. And we have an oncidium just behind the oncidium. Don't want to skip this. This is my Del Rossi, which is a Pathiopedilum. So that is a slipper orchid. Hasn't bloomed for me yet, but it's a cross of Delanatii and Rothschildianum. So small, cute pink bloom and a giant multifloral brown flower. So that hasn't bloomed for me yet. So I'm interested to see. Next, my Shirley Admison, which I recently posted on my Instagram. She's an OG orchid. I've had her for quite some time, and as you can see, she's gonna bloom for me soon. I'm very excited about that. She actually had another bloom that was coming out here but dried up. I was actually not watering both sides of the plant adequately. I was sort of concentrating the water on one side, and I shouldn't have done that. Let's see. Oh, what do you want? You want to go outside? Hold on, guys. I need to tend to the baby. So I do apologize for the outside noise if there's any. I had to open the door for Oscar, pup that you just saw. He's the youngest. He is a little over a year old now. But back to the plants. Here's my big oncidium. She smells sort of like chocolate when she blooms. She does have the Sherry Baby, the famous chocolate orchid, in the parentage. So I don't know if the scent is fully Sherry Baby because there's a burnt plastic sort of thing in the background. The blooms are actually pretty waxy on that plant too, so I'm not surprised that there is sort of this waxy scent or waxy undertone as almost as if the plants are made of wax, the flowers themselves. It's kind of hard to describe, but you do smell the chocolatey vanilla sensation. So here we have another nondescript phal, no ID, a palm plant, my rubber tree back there, a ginseng tree, which I've actually propagated. I actually have a piece there of that tree, and another back on a north-facing window that I have in the living room that I'll show you guys as well. My catasetum orchid just dropped the blooms. They didn't last too long. I don't know if I did. Ew, I have sap on my fingers. It's very sappy. I don't know what I did wrong, but the plant blooms all the time on like the newest growth, and then the blooms don't last long. But then it just keeps going, like the plant doesn't die. Here we have, I call this is a phalaenopsis and no ID, but Babe, my hubby, bought this for me as the first plant when we moved into Vegas, and she's blooming again. I think she's white. I want to say she's white. Uh-oh. Let me put her back carefully. I like to keep the blooms facing the light. The plant itself will do what they want, but the blooms will always twist towards the light. So if you keep moving them, you'll get a twisty spike, which is what I kind of did here on purpose to get that S shape, but we'll see how that looks when the plants bloom. Another avocado tree. I forgot what this plant is called, but I call it Jurassic Park because it's like a huge palm tree. Another no ID phal. My alocasia, which one of my best friends thinks the name is just so funny, alocasia. She's like, how's my boo alocasia doing? She is funny. I miss her. And my alocasia is actually in a jar with no drainage. A lot of my plants actually don't have drainage. They're double cupped and the water is just allowed to sit at the bottom. My mixes do have charcoal, so it promotes a antifungal property. So I don't have bacteria growing at the bottom with the stagnant water. And some more plants, my Starfish Succulent. I have something that looks like it's mixed with the Schilleriana from the foliage there. The leaves are gorgeous. I did purchase it in bloom with the two stems, but I did have to cut those off, and now there is more foliage growing, so I'm excited about that. And I think the blooms may be fragrant if they're still here in my warm environment. My psychopsis maraposa, which has not bloomed yet, I don't even want to show it. I am losing this phal, excuse me, this path over here. It's starting to perk up that leaf, but I don't know. It lost all its leaves, and I don't know if it's coming back. But basically, the ones at the top are doing all the work. Everything down here is, just foliage pretty. And I do have a bloom coming off my, I think it's called a path psych, which is a cross between a bolotulum and a nivium. This one, like my Shirley Admonson, they're pretty reliable bloomers. I think they bloom at least once a year, both of them. But here are some more paths and some foliage to show you. I don't know if any of you are just joining me on this channel, but I do purchase a lot of my plants, especially orchids, because of the foliage, because there's something nice to look at even when the plant isn't in bloom. Let's close this door. So yeah, some more plants just to show you guys my grow space. Lots of phals, because although I do consider myself a path whore, or someone who is very obsessed over Paphiopedilums, I do buy a lot of phals because they're easily accessible in grocery stores and they're always on sale. So a lot of the paths that you see are actually purchased on clearance for like $2 to $7, and they're normally like $15, $20, even $30 orchids. And one of the things that I like is that you can experiment with them. So one of the things that I've dealt with outside of the spider mite challenge is rot. And I don't deal with rot a lot in the summertime, but here I do tend to overwater and overshoot myself in the wintertime because if the sun doesn't come out here, it actually stays pretty cool. Like today is a pretty cool day, and I watered most of my collection yesterday, and they are still pretty soaked. Like a lot of the collection is very still wet, and normally it's not like that the next day. The next day, the top layer is normally pretty dry. So the desert is just very interesting. It's an anomaly to grow things here. And after looking at this section here, I think, oh, here's a plant. So this is one of the plants that, oh, my Shirley Adminson. So this that you see here is actually a result of overwatering because this side of the plant was a little too watered, but the other side was underwatered, which is why I ended up losing the bloom. But this bloom is the other one by contrast is extremely strong, and it's just very interesting here. If your pot's dry very fast, you have to keep in mind to develop a medium or buy some type of buy some type of potting medium that specifically works in your environment. And for me, it's really moss and fine bark. I am going to experiment with cocoa coir because I do hear that it retains quite a bit of moisture, and I don't want to go into semi-hydro because I don't enjoy mixing nutrients. I want to throw a a how do you say, a fertilizer that you can throw in the pot that dissolves when it's warm, when the plants need it, and then just leave it alone from there and replace it every couple of months when I do my repotting. So let me just walk over to the other side just to show you guys some of my plants that I have in the north window. So here is my north window. It's here. I have to open the shades in the morning to get the sunlight in here. My ZZ plant, you know, it's so funny because people always say, oh, you have a green thumb, you have a green thumb. But here I'm killing a ZZ plant, which is one of the most easy plants to take care of in the hobby. But just jumping along, I have a Hoya here, a pot of plants, a pot of phals. They're purple blooms, all mixed and varied, that I purchased for like $7 on clearance at Lowe's. So I can't wait for those to bloom again. And I just keep a lot of viney plants here, aside from the phal and ZZ plant that I have. So I have another Hoya, two Hoyas sitting here, a Monstera that was given to me by a friend of mine. I guess I can call her a friend. Sorry about the interruption. My phone's had a message on it that popped up that scared me for a sec. But I was saying that this was a Monstera that was given to me. Lost some leaves, but she's grown quite a few leaves and looks like she's hasn't really missed a beat. Just a bunch of viney plants that don't need a lot of light. I even have a palm tree back here that probably needs some water. Yeah, need some water. But yeah, that's my little north space. And let me show you a couple of phals that I have in my kitchen. So I have a couple of standard no ID grocery store phals that are here perched on my kitchen counter and a wine bottle. I just like using things to redecorate. And one is in bloom. Sorry about that pause again. My phone keeps saying I have no space, and I have plenty of space. So I'm going to try to wrap this video up then instead of being interrupted. Please follow me on social media. My handles are at The Right Path on Instagram and Facebook. I appreciate you all, again, tuning in. Let me know what else you want to see. I do have a couple of videos planned with regard to taking care of my, with regard to how to get your plants to bloom, especially the orchids, because it's really light, a little bit of water and medium, but it's really the light, guys. And with that, I will see you all in the next video.